Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the kickoff meeting of the Gs1 Belgium work group of Gs1 Digital Link. We still have people coming in, so I'm just going to do the introduction and still wait for the others. So my name is Karen Arkestein. I'm Innovation Manager at Gs1 Belgium. And this is a very important message for you all. Thank you for being here because for our international guest speakers, you may not know this, but the schools are closed again in Belgium since yesterday. So many people right now are sitting at home with their kids, and I know it must not be easy. It's not practical at all. So really, I appreciate that you're being here today. Your participation is being very valued. So thank you for being here. People are still coming in. But I'm going to start with the slides that we always have to show. First, the antitrust caution. So we are here today not to discuss any commercially sensitive information. Basically, that's it. So we will not enter into any discussion, activity, or conduct that may infringe on any applicable competition law. So we will not discuss, communicate, or exchange any commercially sensitive information like strategies, like prices, etc. Not before, not during, not after the meeting. Privacy and intellectual property disclaimer. So this session will be recorded. And we are going to distribute it afterwards to other Belgiulux members, Gs1 Belgiulux members, and to other Gs1 member organizations. So just that you're aware of this. If you do not support this, then please let us know. But if you don't say anything, then we will assume that you are all okay with this. Also, by participating, you are authorizing us to process your input and to use it for the sake of the work group. So we still have people coming in. As you can see, you are all muted and nobody is showing their webcam. So if you want to ask questions, which is very much encouraged, then please use the dedicated tab that is used for it. So if you go to the arrow on the right corner, if you click on it, you can see that we have different tabs. So we have the chat, where we all invite you to say good afternoon and to share whatever is on your mind. Then you also have the questions tab. So if you have any questions, please put it in there because you can rank each other's questions. So that way we can see which question is more important than another and we can give priority to those. You also have a polls tab because we are going to ask you questions because we want to hear from you. Then you can answer those poll questions in the poll section. And in the people section, you can see who is joining. And as you figured out right now, the work group will be held in English because we have international guest speakers, but also, you know, in Belgium and Luxembourg, we speak so many languages, and it's just easier to speak one language, English. And also, you have the possibility to mute your notifications if you don't want to get an annoying ping, ping all the time. So you can just click on the mute button there. If you would like to see this in full screen, because right now the screen can be a little bit, little, then just click on the upper right corner of your browser, the three dots, and then you can click on the square pictogram, and then you can just see the event in full screen. Okay. I'm just going to continue. I also have our marketing team that is supporting me because I can't constantly check the questions on the chat. So if there's any urgent question, please, marketing, let me know. No, you're not supposed to turn your webcam on, so I'm going to leave that to the guest speakers to do that so that you can see them, but you don't have to turn it on and you don't have to unmute yourself if that's even possible. Okay, so the agenda of today, we basically have 3 blocks. So we're going to explain to you Gs1 Digital Link, what is it and why use it, and that's the first block. It will take about an hour, and we will have a small break if timing allows. Then we're going to continue with Gs1 Digital Link, how do it? And this part will be a little bit more technical, not too technical, but a little bit more. And then we're going to finish off with, okay, what's the future of Digital Link? What is next? And we hope to finish off by 3 p.m. So maybe that way you can spend time with your kids if they're asking for your attention. Okay. So welcome to the guest speakers. We have 5 guest speakers today. We have 2 guest speakers from pharma.be, Nathalie Lambot and Marie van de Ginste. I was already switching in French, but I don't have to do that. Okay, so Nathalie is expert on public health at pharma.be, and Marie is public health advisor at pharma.be. Now we have the global mastermind of Digital Link, Phil Archer of GS1 Global. We have Michelle Otteker from GS1 Switzerland, and we have our own in-house guest speaker, Dirk Willekens from GS1 Belgium, who will be talking to you. Very excited to have them. Also very, very excited because, as you can see, we have about 126 people right now that are here, but we had over 250 people that registered for the work group, and that is immense. That is definitely a record number for any work group we've ever had. We were kind of blown away by it because this is also the reason why we decided to do this in this platform, in the Livestorm platform, and not just a Teams call. We really had to do this event approach because we were so many people, and for a work group, it's not really feasible if you do it any other way. And our marketing team had to upgrade the license for our platform, not once, but twice, because we had so many people registering. And I'm still happy with the 126, knowing about the situation right now with the children being at home. So I'm very happy. We see many people from different sectors and from different businesses, and I tried to put it on the slide, but still there are more than there are mentioned there. So I'm very excited. So just so you know, this is a work group, and a work group usually has the intention to share input, to share experiences, to learn from each other. But this is the kickoff, and right now, because we are so many people, it's a bit too difficult to make it that interactive. So this session will be recorded. It will be distributed to others because this session is mainly intended to give information. It is to raise awareness, to explain the standard, etc. And then afterwards, in future meetings, we will restructure the work group a bit to make it more interactive. So why this work group? Well, I think it must have triggered you. You must have heard about Digital Link already, maybe vaguely. It's a new standard, and we as GS1 Belgium, we really want to be an innovative partner. We want to be relevant to our GS1 Belgium members, and we want to make sure that we are innovative not only when it comes to services, but also when it comes to standards, and that we can really create value for you, and that we can help implement. And well, this is also what is included in our pluriannual plan, in our innovation strategy. We really want to help you be innovative yourself. We also see that this topic is globally trending, and that is why we decided to set up this work group, because we see that we need to. It's the future. It's what's happening. But we also see that a lot of information on Digital Link is still very technical, or it's very how shall I put it? That it explains you can do anything you want, and it's so great. And but it's maybe not concrete enough. And that is why we kind of needed to demystify the topic of GS1 Digital Link and really explain to you what is it, why do you need to use it, and how do you use it. And this work group is also intended to receive input from you. What do you think should be the next steps? How should we do the next meetings, etc.? So we're going to start off by actually hearing from you, and we're going to launch 2 poll questions. Please answer to them if you can see them in the polls tab. So to which extent are you familiar with Digital Link? And then you can answer, I don't know what it is. I know what it is high level, but not into detail. And I know what it is into detail. So that's the first question. I think it got bumped below the other question. So the other question is, why are you here? To receive information about the topic, to actively give input and participate, or to pick up what I need to set up a pilot. So can you actually see the poll questions? Yes, okay, voted. Okay, so you voted, but I can't see the results. It's very handy. So maybe one of the, okay, you see the poll. We have our Sophie of our marketing team.
I'll share the results of the polls. Why are you here? The majority of the people said it's to receive information about the topic, 84%, 9% to pick up what I need to see, what I need to set up a pilot, and 8% to give active input. And for the second question, it's 54% who said, I don't know what it is, and 42% who said, I know what it is on a high level, but not into detail.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sophie. So that's very much in line with what we thought that was supposed to be the intent of this work group. It's mainly to give information right now. Okay. By the way, Sophie, I see that many people are on stage right now, but I'm going to repeat what was said in the chat as well. You don't need to be on stage to follow the session. It's supposed to be the guest speakers that need to be on stage. So if you're not a guest speaker, please, I can see that people are listening already. Okay, great. So GS1 Digital Link, what is it? That's why you are here. So I put it on one slide, and basically this is I can't put it any better than this, I think. Digital Link, and you can see I put it like DL, that's a common abbreviation. Digital Link is a method. It's a solution to link a GS1 identifier encoded in a data carrier to one or multiple data sources. So it gives your physical product a digital identity that can be used on the web. And that way you can connect a product to online sources of accurate, real-time, dynamic information that brand owners control. And let's digest that. So it's accurate data because it's the brand owner that was the source, and because it's globally unique. It's real-time data because it can be updated anytime, and it's dynamic data because it can be anything, really. It can be B2B information that you can link to, can be B2C information, even B2G to the government. So there are there's a lot of power and value and flexibility that you can actually give to your existing GS1 identifiers and data carriers by using digital link. And that way you can create a richer product experience for your consumers, patients, for yourself as a brand, for yourself as a retailer. That is digital link, and it may still sound very vague, but you'll find out what it is. Actually, it's building a bridge between the GS1 world and the digital world. Now, digital link itself, it's not new, not at all. Companies like AB InBev, Procter & Gamble, Carrefour, etc., they have been using digital link applications for almost 5 years. But those were standalone solutions. Those were not, they could not be used globally in any case. So it's not new, and that's why GS1, that's what we do. We standardize things. So we said, okay, let's have a look at this. Let's standardize this. And by standardizing, we made sure we provided a standard way of expressing the GS1 identification keys and data attributes in a format that can be used on the web in the same way by everyone. And why did we want to standardize this? It's because you are already using GS1 standards. You are already using the Json, and it turned 50 years this year. So why not continue with this Json? Because it's been in your lives for 50 years already. So why not continue? And that way you can leverage more applications. You can ensure interoperability, scalability, make sure that automated processing is possible on a global scale. And also by standardization, you can actually move to one single data carrier on the label that can actually perform multiple functions. And this is an important one, but I'll get back to that one later. So this is why we wanted to standardize this. Now, at this point in time, it might still be a little bit vague, but I'll have our global mastermind, Phil Archer, I'll have him explain to you why you should use it, and then it will become clearer as well. But I'm going to already talk to you about why use it. So we have one multifunctional data carrier, because if you can link an identifier in a barcode to any kind of data, then that eliminates the reason why you should be adding other barcodes on the label as well. Because nowadays you see a label of a product and there's a barcode with traceability info, one with marketing info, one with product information. And these all, they all serve different purposes. But if you can have just one barcode that can actually link to all these types of data, then you can just keep that barcode and that's the only one on the label. And that is what we really need to aim for, because it will reduce confusion for cashiers, for consumers, for patients, for healthcare workers, you name it. And it would also reduce scan failings, because multiple barcodes can actually interfere with another. So this is the goal. And that way you can have more data, which is demanded by basically everyone nowadays. Fewer data sharing ecosystems as well. Why? Because before, if you were not linking digitally to data sources, before you were copying or combining, you were aggregating multiple data sets. And now if you can link it via digital link, you actually only need to link to one original data source. And that way, if there's a change in your data set, you can actually make that change immediately and you won't have any delays. So this already explains why you should use GS1 Digital Link, because that way you can also respond to stakeholders' demands and behaviors, because you can better engage your consumers, you can unlock visibility of your product, you can make sure that your product life cycle is visible, is transparent from end to end. And that way you can actually meet sustainability requirements as well. You can enable a circular economy model as well. And you can protect your brand, protect consumer safety, any counterfeit, what regulators want. And now I'm going to shut up and have Phil talk because I'm sure he'll explain it even much better. And he will also talk to you about what is the value proposition for you, because we are here with retailers, we are here with brand owners, no solution providers at the moment, but there are many stakeholders here right now, and Phil can talk to you about what is your case and what is the value proposition for you. Go ahead, Phil.
Thanks, Karen, and good afternoon, everybody. I think Karen's already covered so much and explained it very well. I don't think I can explain it any better, but I will tell you a story if I can. Excuse me. I'm going to take you back to 285 BCE. This is a depiction of the great library of Alexandria. And you can see scholars finding information on scrolls, taking them down, having a look and taking time to understand the information that's available to them. And that picture persisted, that way of doing things, it still persists today. This is a picture from just, 13 years ago? Students studying in a library, okay, it's not scrolls, it's printed books, but the activity that they're doing there, looking up information, studying that information, taking time and effort to do that is something that we've seen for a very long time. Now, of course, 285 BC to 2008 is a very, very long period of time where lots of things have happened. As Karen mentioned, it's actually 50 years ago tomorrow, 31st of March, 1971, when a group of men, and I'm sorry, it was all men, got together in New York to see how we could get rid of the price tag, the little sticker that was put on every product on the shelf. Those of us who are more than 50 years old can remember seeing those little stickers that were put on every single thing. How can we make this better? So that was 31st of March 1971, which is why we are celebrating this week the 50th anniversary of what we now call the GTIN. The first scan, as anyone who is familiar with the Gs1 story will know, was on the 26th of June 1974, when this product, a 10-pack of Wrigley's Juicy Fruit Gum, was the first thing across the scanner that went beep. 1974, what was going on then? Well, this was the state of technology. This is what those men were working with. This was the assumptions they were working on. A friend of mine who's now a computer science professor at Rensselaer Polytechnic was using the equipment you see on the left-hand side there. Notice the punch tape. That's how you got information from one computer to another. You handed a physical tape and it was read in that way. 74 was the year when Toshiba released the 5.25-inch floppy disk that was an advance on the 8-inch floppy disk that had gone before it. Most of us on this call have never used a 5.25-inch floppy disk. You probably did use the 3.5-inch one, which is the physical thing that is still the icon for save today. That was the state of technology in 1974, and the thinking that went into the development of the original barcode. Other things happening in 74, well, two of these gentlemen, that is Bob Kahn and Vince Cerf, began work on something called ARPANET. ARPANET was a development of the original DARPANET, which Lawrence Roberts was one of the architects there, developing the whole idea of packet switching. So that was in 1974, and the guy on the right-hand side of your screen, that's Tim Berners-Lee, my old boss, the man who added the World Wide Web to the internet in 1991. There's one gentleman who often gets left out of the story, and I want to bring him to your attention today, particularly because he is Belgian. And there's I think it is just wrong that Robert Caillou is not a household name. He jolly well should be a household name. Remember the name Robert Caillou, Belgian, born in 1947. He was working on what we now call HTML before Tim Berners-Lee. I haven't met him. I'd love to meet him, but he's not far away from you there. 2007, the story goes on, and we had the iPhone came in then, and that made another big change as well. Are you still seeing my screen, or are you seeing something else? Sorry, my screen. Excuse me. 2007, along came the iPhone, and that was kind of the icing on the cake for this information revolution. And it did, I think, more than the introduction of the internet and the web, actually made a change in society. The whole way that we think has changed. Our expectations, you and I as individuals, our expectations of each other, our expectations of the businesses that we work with, our expectations of government, our expectations everywhere have changed as a result of this information space. Go to a library now, give me the information, hand it over. I know you've got it in the books there, just give it to me. I'm not going to go and look. Give me what I expect. Because every single fact that you know, you can ask me. I can look it up. I can find out the answer to anything in my hand. And that makes a huge difference to what people expect to happen. And because of all this information that's all around us, when you're a product or a retailer trying to make yourself seen above the noise of all this digital information, you've really got to work hard to stand out. You've got to make a lot of noise. You've got to be special. You've got to stand above the others. That takes a lot of effort. And governments too. Karen mentioned B2G. Governments and regulators, particularly in areas like healthcare, they expect information. They expect it in real time, delivered in the right format, on the right day, because we know you can do it. Because if you don't, I can get it from Google or whatever, but we know it's possible, therefore we expect it. And that makes a big, big difference to how we do things. And look at the scale. As we know from this week's events in the Suez Canal, this ship is a baby. This one's tiny. It's only got, I don't know how many thousand containers on it, but you know, in today's world, this is tiny. The amount of information flowing around, the scale is enormous, and we somehow have to cope with that. Is this really up to the job? What is that barcode? How is it, you know, again, go back to 1974, those early computers. The assumption is that you already have a big database. You've got lots and lots of information in a room full of racks, which is what it took in 1974. And this number allows you to look this thing up. It's just a number to look something up in a database that you already have. Now, of course, it's not really about the barcode as such. It's about the identifier itself, what we call the GTIN. And all GS1 Digital Link does, all it does, is to turn that into a web address. But that difference is profound. Because now, as Karen was saying, you can now connect that thing, whether it's a product or a shipment or a returnable asset or a hospital bed, whatever it may be, that thing can now be connected to lots of other data sources, not just the one you've got. You start from the item and go to where the data is. Yeah, that'll probably be a big database you've got. That's one. That's a really good one, and it's an important one, but I bet it isn't the only one. Where's the traceability information? Where's the instructions for use in the healthcare area? I've been taking a Ventolin inhaler now for something like 40 years. Just today, the health service sent me a link to a video for how to use it properly after 40 years. There's so many things that you can link something to, and that's really what Digital Link is about. You may be perhaps a little skeptical. Let me try again. This demand culture, give me the answer. I'm not going to look for it, tell me. If I'm going to buy something, I want to know where it came from. What's the carbon footprint? Has it got palm oil in it? Am I going to get an allergic reaction? If I'm a patient, I want that patient information. We'll be hearing about that very shortly. In that digital noise that's all around us, making yourself seen, I don't want to have to look, just give it to me. Show me this product in use. Or if I'm a patient, show me the information. If I'm a clinician, give me the data I need. Show me why I should buy your thing rather than the one next to it, because the one next to it's cheaper, so why should I buy yours? Give me that information. And in terms of regulatory information, Of course, there's EU regulation, there's Belgium regulation, which might be slightly different from Luxembourgish regulation, almost the same, but not quite, probably another language to add there as well. There's a lot of information that has to go, and all this can be done at scale using the internet, the web, and all the technology that we're used to. You can link to that master data, you can link to reordering information, you can find the hazardous handling information, the clinical information. That's what Gs1 Digital Link is about. It's about taking that basic identifier and making it work harder for you and linking to multiple sources of data. Whether you're a consumer, working the back office, or in a warehouse, whatever it may be, it's about getting from where you are and meeting that demand of, give me what I want to know, because I know you've got it, so don't waste time, give it to me. Thank you. Back to you, Karen.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. If anyone has any questions, you can put them in the questions tab, or you can always ask them later because Phil will be talking again later on, so don't hesitate. We're going to go to a presentation of pharma.be because pharma.be has been working on a great project to digitalize their leaflets, to make them e-leaflets. And actually, this is a concrete example of how Digital Link could actually take this project even further. But let's have Marie and Nathalie present their project, and then we can brainstorm even further. So Marie and Nathalie, the floor is yours. Go ahead. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Karen, and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Gs1, also for giving us the possibility today to present our e-pill pilot project to this group. So my name is Marie van der Hinste, and I'm here today with my colleague Nathalie, and we're both from Pharma.be, which is the umbrella association of the innovative pharmaceutical industry in Belgium. And I'm happy to present you our e-pill pilot project, which is an innovative collaborative project in Belgium and in Luxembourg. I said collaborative because the project is a collaboration between the industry associations Pharma.be in Belgium and APL in Luxembourg, and with the support of the two national competent authorities as well as the European Commission. Today, I will briefly present to you why we've launched the project, what the project looks like, how the project is evaluated, and what the interim results are. And then to conclude, I will present you our next steps and of course, how to make the link and how the link can be made with the Gs1 standards. So as you have probably already noticed when opening a medicine packaging, inside of the box, you can find the patient information leaflet, or in short, the pill, with instructions and important information about the medicine. You probably know it's the paper that is difficult to fold and to put in the box again. According to European regulations, the pill must be mandatory present in every packaging of all medicines. But did you also know that you can find all medicine leaflets electronically? Yes, indeed, you can. This was made mandatory a few years ago by the European authorities. And as you may imagine, the electronic leaflets have many advantages compared to the printed ones. And this I will explain you on this slide. So it happens frequently that the information in the leaflet is updated. For example, there are new data to be included. Electronically, as a patient or as a healthcare professional, you have an immediate access to the most recent approved version because, of course, electronically, the latest version can rapidly be uploaded. Additionally, you can read the information in a user-friendly way, such as in a language of your choice or in a bigger font. Electronic leaflets also support the mission of public health, to always have access to the most recent approved information to promote the good use of medicines. For the firms, electronic leaflets provide flexibility in the update of the information. And lastly, there is an important positive environmental impact. With this in mind, we have launched in 2018 the e-pill pilot project in Belgium and in Luxembourg. It is a pioneer project in Europe, and the European Commission is closely following the progress of this project. So for a selection of medicines, the paper leaflet is no longer inserted in the packaging, but it's available electronically via various trusted sources. The objective of the project is to demonstrate that the paper pill is equivalent to the electronic pill, to provide information on safe and effective use of medicines in the context of hospital-used only medicines. So as just said, the scope is limited to hospital-only medicines in different therapeutic areas, and for medicines that are, of course, on the market in Belgium and in Luxembourg. It's a time-limited project. We first had approval for 2 years, and now it has been extended to 48 months. So we have an extension until the 1st of August 2022. So the healthcare professionals can consult the electronic product information online. Where is this available? This is available via several trusted sources, such as, for example, from the competent authorities or from the official commented list of medicines. Pharma.be also has a platform with many patient leaflets, which is named the e-compendium, which you can see below. On this platform, the leaflet is structured chapter by chapter instead of plain text. Important in the context of this session today is how the leaflet is found on all these sources. So currently, the leaflets are found by manually typing in the name of the medicine in a Google-like search bulk, but more on this later in this presentation. Well, the evaluation of our project was determined by our steering committee. Surveys are conducted on different moments in time amongst hospital pharmacists to evaluate the access, the use, and the reading of the e-pill during the project. Next to that, and that's the second bullet on the slide, there are surveys conducted amongst the participating pharma companies. And this is to evaluate the questions they receive due to the absence of the pill in the packaging. What we would like to demonstrate with this project is that the electronic patient information leaflet allows to provide sufficient, adequate, and tailored information with no need to print the patient information leaflet. And secondly, that it has a positive impact on the daily practice of hospital pharmacists. Today, we are 2 years and a half after the launch of our project, and 2 interim evaluations have passed. The results are very positive, and 98% of the responding hospital pharmacists would agree that the paper patient leaflet is removed from medicines restricted to hospital use only. The participating pharma companies only received very few questions on the absence of the paper leaflet in the packaging. And so we have sent these very good results to the European Commission and requested an extension of the project and also the possibility to include more medicines in the project. And we're very grateful that our request has been accepted. So what are the next steps of the project? After receiving the approval to continue and to include more medicines, we have launched a second call for candidates. And now we're happy to say that 42 hospital products are approved in the product of 17 different pharmaceutical companies. The extension that we received is until the 1st of August 2022. We have also recently sent the second interim results to the European Commission to keep them informed. There is a yearly evaluation of the project and perspectives with the steering committee, and that meeting will be held in September. And in August 2022, we have our next and our final evaluation planned. This is my final slide. And here I would like to make the bridge between our project and the Gs1 standards. As you may know, all medicine packages that fall under the Falsified Medicine Directive must have a unique 2-dimensional barcode on the packaging. This is in place quite recently, since February 2019. The Gs1 data matrix on the packaging contains 4 types of information, which you can see as well on the image of the slide: the G-team product specific code, the batch number, the expiry date, and a unique serial number. We see now that in the e-pill pilot project that the results are very positive and that the e-pill is equivalent to the paper leaflet to provide information about the medicine. It would therefore be of an added value to have a direct link to the electronic product information by scanning the two-dimensional barcode on the packaging of the medicine. So by scanning via, for example, a mobile application or via the software of healthcare professionals, the GKIN code could be recognized and the user is directly referred to the electronic leaflet instead of the situation today in which the user needs to manually type in the name of the medicine in a search bulk on the website. So yeah, we hope that this will be possible in the near future. So I thank you for your attention, and my colleague Nathalie and myself are happy to respond to any question that you may have, which you can submit in the chat.
Thank you, Marie. So far, I don't see any questions. Please don't hesitate to ask them. I mean, I don't know Nathalie and Marie very well, but I don't think that they will bite if you ask them any questions. No. So if I see one thing popping up, oh, it's in the chat. Okay. So even if you're digesting this and you still have questions, don't hesitate to pop them in the questions tab. Thank you so much for the presentation, and I do think this is a great case because you already have a Json, you already have a GS1 data matrix, and if you take this any further with GS1 Digital Link, you can actually use these standards already, scan the GS1 data matrix, and by digitally linking them to any type of data that you like, you have possibilities to share information about the product with patients, with pharmacists, etc. But also you could link to electronic health records. I'm just thinking out loud. You could also link to a verification system or platform which says that, okay, your product is actually, it's not illicit. It's to protect against anti-counterfeit. So there are many possibilities here, and this is what the pharma.be case actually shows. So if there are any, there's one question. Okay. How do you manage the version numbering of the pill related to a specific manufactured product? Based on the eBestletter webpage, I don't see a version history of the pill.
Okay, so you have the version number and the version date of the pill on the pill itself. So you find it on the electronic version of the pill. You have this official version, which is the official version, last version that has been approved by the authorities, by the regulatory authorities. So then you have the last version on the website, but I guess your question is that really the last, the version of the pill related to the batch that has been released, if I understand well, and that is indeed more difficult to do this link so far. So far, what you have is the link to the last approved and validated version by the regulatory authorities. Does he answer to your question?
Okay. Let's just wait for Laurent to answer if that was okay. In the meantime, we have another question. So is a 2D barcode a serial number, meaning each pack has its own identification number? So is the Json serialized? That is the question.
Yes, indeed. That is to prevent counterfeiting and in the fight against fake medicines. But indeed, it's a unique code, which is included. But it's only for the medicines that fall under the Falsified Medicine Directive. So
okay, perfect.
These are the medicines that are under prescription, and then some extras. But for example, over-the-counter medicines are until now not yet included in this Falsified Medicine Directive.
Okay. And also, digital link is possible with the serialized GTIN as well. So just so you know, and so for digital link, you can use digital link for any identifier. Any GS1 identifier can be a GTIN, an SSCC, doesn't matter. It can be serialized, yes or no. And to also answer to the question of Nele, it can also be used for any data carrier. So any type of barcode, RFID, NFC, it can all be used. So it can be used with a simple EN13 code, but we'll get back to that later when we'll go to the more technical part about how to do it. Now we'll discuss the types of barcodes as well. And Laurent answered that indeed his question was related to the batch manufacturing date and the pill publish date. Thank you for your answer. It clarifies the question. Okay. If there aren't any more questions, then you are, again, it's very much appreciated, your presentation. And if other people still have questions afterwards, don't hesitate to contact me, and I can put you in contact with Nathalie and Marie.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I hope that the view is now a little bit clearer in your head as to why use digital link, and if not, if you're still want to know, okay, what is my use case? What is the value proposition for me? Then we do have this slide that I actually stole from Gs1 Australia. They put it very nicely where you can see these are the B2C use cases, B2B. This is the value for operations, and this is for solution providers. You can have a look at that. Just know that we will send a recording to you afterwards. We will also send the slides afterwards, so you can definitely have a look at those. And also, there's a lot of material already out there, so I'm going to point you to the videos that are mentioned below here. We have a very useful video that actually Phil created in collaboration with other GS1 colleagues about what is the value for B2B, what is the value for B2C. So please have a look at that as well. It's also it's good that you can share this internally with other stakeholders within your company or outside your company as well. Besides that, just know that pilots are actually booming, and we already have a couple of national pilots ongoing. For example, Sopraco, meat supplier, has already implemented the GS1 data matrix barcode for products of variable measure items sold at point of sale. And they're actually linking the GTIN in the GS1 data matrix to recipes for their products. So they have been testing it out as well. And then internationally, we see other implementations or pilots in the US, Procter & Gamble, Netherlands, Friesland, Campina, and others. So if you're interested, just let me know. I can always send you more information about that as well to better show you use Gs1 Digital Link. And we have another poll question coming up. I'm hoping I can see it now. Okay, so the question is, so far, what do you think? GS1 Digital Link is the future and should be part of GS1 strategy. GS1 Digital Link is a nice to have, but it's not vital. Or GS1 Digital Link is not the future. Okay, I can see the results now. They're coming in. Okay, so the majority says that it is the future and should be part of GS1 strategy, which is, of course, good to hear, because that means that we are on track and that we had that we were feeling it right. And then about 34% says it's a nice to have, but it is not vital. And I think to comment on that, it is good to know for you that if you want to start a pilot, it does not have to be a big pilot. You can start very small scope at zero cost even, and then you can start testing it out. So it doesn't have to mean a big change for you if you want to test it, even if you want to implement it. I think that's very important to know. And then the second question, what would be your biggest use case? B2B, B2C, or B2G? And I'm sorry, you have to answer with one option. It's not multiple options, just one. Okay, so it's a close call. The majority says B2C, but it's very close to B2B. All right, perfect. Now if we go back to the presentation, actually I'm going to give you a small break of about 5 minutes, so we can meet again at 5 to 2. And then we can go to the second part of the session, which is explaining how to actually do GS1 Digital Link. So I'll meet you again in 4 to 5 minutes. Enjoy your break. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Well, I hope you made it. So let's go to the second part of the session, the more technical part, but it won't be too technical, I hope. Okay, so how do GS1 Digital Link, how do you actually do it? And before I go to Phil, I'm just already going to drop some words in your mind, some keywords, so that when Phil gives his explanation, which he will do very well, just so that these words don't sound too unfamiliar. Okay, so we have the resolver, we have link types, we have syntax, and we have a phone app or regular app. We have two people here today, Phil and Michelle, who will be talking about the resolver. And the resolver is a system that actually stores the URLs of the resources that you'd like to make available. So it redirects the requests to wherever the content is. So basically, it's kind of a matchmaker because it will look for the match that you'd like to get. That's the resolver. Then you have the link types, which are the labels that are attached to the links, saying, okay, this is a recipe, this is a recall information, this is a promotion, etc. So it gives information about what your link is about. Then you have the syntax, which is the language in which your information, your data is encoded in a data carrier. And I will be talking about that. And then we have Dirk, who will be talking about an app, which is the interpreter of the data that is encoded, and that will tell you what it is that you're looking for, and it will show you in your app. But again, I'm sure that Phil can explain it better. So the floor is yours again, Phil.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much indeed. And as always, you do yourself down. You've explained so much so quickly. Thank you very much. I'm actually going to take you through a live version of something that, if you are so minded, you can find on YouTube. There's a recorded version of this with me with various graphics appearing on my right-hand side. And it tries to explain as the kind of thing that Karen's just been talking about. And as she says, it is certainly true. And as you've heard people say already, you do hear about all sorts of weird names and terminology in this discussion. You will hear words like link types and URIs and resolvers. And yes, those terms are part of the story, but it's not what the story is about. We're not talking about the technology. This is not a technological discussion. GS1 Digital Link is actually, yes, is a technological solution, but it's not about the technology. GS1 Digital Link is about traceability. It's about product recalls. It's about consumer information. It's about back of store operations, handling hazardous materials. It's about information for patients and clinicians, as we've heard from Marie and Natalie. It's about marketplaces, online shopping, search engine optimization. Every time somebody scans a code that goes to your server, you get information about them. That's marketing dynamite. You can get information about who scanned your product and when. You get information about where they were, what kind of device they were using. You may get all sorts of other information. It's a two-way street, this thing. It's about warehousing. It's about the rail industry, construction, engineering, maybe a little bit of augmented reality, lots about apparel. GS1 Digital Link is about GS1. It's about the things that we all do day to day. It's about supply chain. It's about efficiency. It's about digitization. It's about all those things that customers and business partners demand of us all. That's what GS1 Digital Link is about. And as we've seen already, as Karen was explaining, as we've seen, it means that original GS1 identifier was designed, don't forget, 50 years ago this week, to avoid having to put a price label on every single item. It was designed simply to go beep at the checkout. That's what it was first designed for. It does more since then, but that was the first thing. And now, rather than a single blade, it's a Swiss Army knife of options. It can link to all sorts of things, as we have said. I don't need to labor that point. If we were to go through the whole of Digital Link, it would take all day. You'd be extremely bored, and you'd be doing lots of other things as well. Hands up who sometimes plays patience on their phone during calls like this. I sometimes get some really good high scores when someone else is talking. I understand, don't worry. So let's break it down into these different layers and to talk a little bit about how each layer can be used on its own, but each one builds on the previous ones to give you what we hope is a very powerful system based on GS1 identifiers. And we start with this thing called the GS1 Digital Link URI syntax, which is a long, horrible word in any language. Sorry. Karen will probably talk about this again in more detail, so I won't labor the point. This, I think, is actually one of those Sopraco products. Take a two-dimensional barcode like this, a GS1 data matrix, and here we've got 3 bits of information. And the work in Belgiulux on this literally led the world, and a lot of other people are now copying what you did. So here we've got 3 bits of information. We've got the GTIN, we've got the batch number, and we've got the measured weight. And there's a way that we put all those bits of information in a particular order, in a particular way, and that's how we encode, excuse me, that's how we encode that information into a 2D data matrix. Now, is there another way to take those same bits of information and encode them another way? Well, yeah, how about this? This is the same GTIN, the same batch number, the same measured weight, just expressed in a different way. But it's equally rigid. It's equally fixed in the way you do it. There's a right way and a wrong way. And what that means is if you do it in the right way, computers can understand it. So whichever one you have, whether you have this as a URL or you have this as a data matrix, as a what we call element syntax, doesn't matter because you can convert between the two. I will just highlight here that in this particular version here, when it's a web address, yes, there is a domain name. There is, if you like, a website or a source of data. That's not part of the identifier. That's not the GS1 bit. That's not the thing that tells you it's a can of drink or a shipment of whatever it may be. That's simply where you look it up. Layer 2, Karen's already explained it. I don't need to label this point. It's the link type. So once you've got something that is a web address, now you want to go from that to other things. And those are the link types. Here's an example. I always use the example of newspapers. Here's a UK newspaper. Here is a UK paper and a Luxembourgish one, and we can add in a Belgian one as well. The thing about these newspapers, and you can do it with any newspaper anywhere in the world, is they're all the same. That is, the navigation is the same. They all have a sports section, a local news section, an international section, lifestyle, TV, weather. They're all the same because that's what you expect. Again, it's back to that, give me the information I want. I want to know what the weather's going to be like in Brussels next week, probably raining. And you can do the same with items, whether it's a product or a shipment or a medicine, whatever it may be. And you can have a typed link that points to the kind of thing you want, whether that's instructions, recipes, clinical information, whatever it may be. Those are the link types that we talk about. But how do you make that real? The concept of, oh, my thing is now somehow connected to the internet and I now want to go from there to other things that I want. How do you actually make that true? That is, as Karen was saying, layer 3, that's the resolver. That's what it does. Now, you don't have to have a resolver to use GS1 Digital Link. You don't need one. You can go from one URL and redirect to another. You see this all the time. Every time you follow a bit.ly URL or t.co, those are redirection services, and you go from where you are to one other place. And that redirect can be updated. You can go now to a different place. So you can go for one or the other. But that's what it is. It's one at a time. With a resolver, you can go from one place to lots of places all at once. So here we have an item which is identified at GTIN level, plus a batch, plus a measured weight. I'm not going to dwell on this slide. I should probably have taken it out because if I could end up confusing people. But I think, Laurent, this might be part of your discussion here. With a resolver, you can put links at any level. You can have a link for a batch. You can even have a link for an individual serial item. And they inherit the links from higher up the chain. That's actually part of why they're structured the way they are, these things. So you can have links at GTIN level, batch level, serial level for different things, and they all inherit links from higher up. I don't want to labor that point too much, but what I'm trying to give you is an idea of how powerful this idea of a resolver is, because it allows you to link to multiple things at once with a little bit of information science in there as well. Now, at Gs1 Global Office, we offer 2 resolvers that you can use, and I kind of emphasize this is all free. So there's a sandbox resolver, developer's resolver. You can use it, you can play around with it, you can add links in, you can link from any GTIN, from any SSCC to anything you like, play with it, see how it works, test it out. We make no promises about the uptime for this thing. It's a sandbox, it might go down. If you're doing a demo, let us know, we'll make sure we're not playing with it that day, but that's basically there for you to play with. Separately, there is the resolver, the production grade resolver. It's designed for you to use. You can use it if you choose to in your critical systems. It's performant, it's resilient, it's always on. And from a policy point of view, all the links in the GS1 production grade resolver are brand authorized. They have to go through, in this case, Gs1 Belgilux. They're all brand authorized. So you get a high performance, high resilient source of information that is brand authorized. That's what the production resolver does. Now, we're not there yet. There's still more layers to go. Hang on a second, there's a question here. Possibly going to become quite long. Yes, that's true. I will come back to that. Ashley, I will come back to that. So on top of the resolvers, as Karen was saying, then, well, you need something to interpret it. You need an app, whether on a mobile or your desktop, whatever it may be. Now, Derek is going to show us an app that he's built. Other people have also built apps, but we at Global Office, we're not doing that. The reason I'm not going to build an app from Gs1 Global Office is because I don't know what you want. You know what you want. Is it a B2B? Is it a B2C? Is it going to be part of an app that you've already got? You want to extend it? Do you want to use it for a particular purpose? Do you want access control? I don't know. That's up to you. What we do, though, is to make it as easy as we can for you to add this functionality to what you've got or to build your own app from scratch. So there's a lot of open source code, open source, open license, use it, do what you like. We make all that available in a thing called GitHub, which is where the world shares its code these days. So we don't make apps, but we make it easy as we can for you to make apps that do what you want them to do. And finally, the top layer, this is a bit more geeky, I'm sorry, but I'll just go through it quite quickly, the linked data bit. We start from an item, whether that's a product or a shipment or an asset or whatever it may be. And we're going to connect to a resolver that we trust. If I take the GTIN as an example, I'm then going to go from that GTIN. If I'm using a GS1 resolver, I know it's brand authorized. If I'm using a brands resolver, obviously it's brand authorized. And I'm going to get some data, which hopefully is going to be structured and we can do stuff with it. I can do the same for GLNs and GRAIs, whatever it may be. The information I get is going to be different, but there's lots of stuff we can link to there. And here what we've got this mechanism where you have an item via a trusted source, wherever that may be, and there can be lots of them, using a Gs1 global identifier that takes you to authoritative information, which is itself structured. That's data at web scale, the kind of scale that can handle lots and lots of container ships worth of stuff. No problem at all. And finally, you and I have never connected to the internet. I've never connected to the internet. You haven't either. Your device has, your phone has, your tablet, your laptop, but you haven't. Whenever you talk about going online, you are not going online, your device is going online. So you better make sure that that information is available in a way that a computer can understand and therefore present it to you. That's what linked data does. It's data at scale across the web in a way that computers can understand so that you don't have to, basically. So that's a bit of the layer cake going through from the fundamentals, which I think Karen's going to talk about more about this syntax, adding on the different layers. And as you add on each layer, that identifier or that set of identifiers that you've got is working harder for you. It's doing more for you. And again, the resolver service is free. You can set up your own. All the code is there for you to do that with. So we hope that it adds value and helps in your digitization. We hope it helps you solve problems you have for linking different sources of data together. That's the layer cake. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Well, first of all, you said that it's probably raining in Belgium. Well, I hate to say this to you, but it's very sunny today and it's 20 degrees.
Same here too. We're not far away actually, but yeah, you're right.
Okay.
It's raining.
And besides that, we do have two questions for you. So first, what is the difference between blockchain and digital link?
Blockchain is all about copying a record of transactions in different nodes all around the world, which gives you a lot of security about, okay, I know that this transaction happened here, and to spoof that would be really hard. It's based on a relatively new technology designed to support, originally to support cryptocurrencies. Digital link uses the web so that we have resolvers in different parts of the world run by different people. If you ask two different resolvers to give you information about the same thing, you may well get two different answers. It's about what you go where you trust. They're both distributed. There's no single point of failure in either system. So they both have distribution. Digital link is based on well-established web technology that's on all the devices that you all have in your pockets. It has a lot of security about it as well, but it is equally distributed. Different ways of achieving the same thing.
Okay, thanks, Phil. And then we had another question. So there's a possibility the URI will become quite long if you encode expiration dates, lot numbers, etc. Since these are all numbers, has any consideration been made to encode the numbers using an alphanumeric scheme in order to allow a reduction in the length of the URIs? I think we need to invite this person to our GSMP process.
Yes, we have. We have an algorithm that you can compress and decompress. So yes, you're right. If you have all that information, you're right, and numeric is good. You can compress it quite a lot, and we have a mechanism for doing that. Very importantly, you do not have to make an online lookup to decompress. You can decompress on the device, assuming it has the software to do it. All the information is there just in a compressed form, and we were adamant that you do not have to go online to decompress it. So it's not the same as a URL shortener like bit.ly or t.co or tinyURL. All the information is there in a compressed form. So yes, you're absolutely right. You can either compress the whole thing, or you can, if you want, you could leave the GTIN uncompressed and then compress everything else. There's quite a lot of flexibility. It's part of the standard. The answer is yes.
Okay. Let me see. Yeah. So Ashley, the person that asked the question, says she's happy and relieved to hear this has been considered. Great.
Good. Okay, thank you.
And then another question, could you mention some areas where digital link can benefit or support the soon-to-be approved EPCIS 2.0 standard?
Yes. Although I'm usually the person doing the talks, the person who actually wrote most of the digital link standard is a guy called Mark Harrison, who also wrote most of the EPCIS standard, and frankly, most of the standards written by GS1. EPCIS 2.0 makes a lot of use of linked data, which again is the whole point of GS1 Digital Link. They fit together nicely, and yeah, you would scan something and you'd follow the link that is typed, oh, EPCIS repository, and off you go. You'd have a standard interface to that traceability information in an EPCIS repository. So yes, a linking to EPCIS, that's one of the link types we've already defined, very much there, and you're already part of that world of this is linked to this, which is linked to that, sometimes called the knowledge graphs, and you can get into that world very quickly. So they fit together very well. Basically, the same person wrote it all.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Phil. So you can have a break right now and then come later again. And I'm going to ask Michel to come on stage. Michel is the Swiss mastermind, actually. He's from Gs1 Switzerland. And as already been mentioned, anyone can operate a resolver. It can be Gs1, it can be a brand, it can be the retailer, it can be a solution provider. And Gs1 Switzerland has actually, in collaboration with the solution provider, is offering a resolver for their members. And Michel is here to explain why did they choose to do this, what is their experience, what is the added value, etc. So go ahead, Michel.
Thanks, Karen. Thanks for having me. I try to be brief on that, but you have to see I'm a technical freak and I love to talk about things like that for hours if needed. So I try to be brief and I try to be not to be too technical today. First of all, I would like to have a rationale in place why a Gs1 member organization actually is launching or providing services. That's due to the fact that a lot of MOs, member organizations, don't do that. You're in a special place in Belgium, Luxembourg, because your organization does and did already offer a lot of solutions. So things you are actually able to use, they provide that to you. Just to name one, which is quite familiar to me, was the formerly known as Trustbox, the B2C solutions you are offering to your members. So why are we doing that? It's not for the biggest ones, because they probably will find their own solutions to support their needs. It's for the SMEs. We have a lot of, as probably you have in Belgium, Luxembourg, a lot of small, medium enterprises which are members and they have the same needs to some scale as the big ones have, but they don't have the means to do it, or to do it as fast as market demands sometimes. That's why we are offering those solutions, try to keep them as small as possible, as efficient as possible, as easy to use as possible. But that's why we actually do it. And of course, the solutions of Gs1 are conformant with the standards, which is as well important for us to be sure to have a consistent approach which not only will work in 2021, but for the years to come. That's where standard experts as myself are keen to have a system which will work not only on short terms, but mid and long term perspective has to be covered by a global standard as Gs1 is providing. So hit the front key. Yeah, here we go. So this is a really, really old saying at EAN or Gs1. Some of you are working with EAN or Gs1 for a long time already heard that, but I think it's quite an essential saying, and it's truly what we are doing. We always have a global scale when it comes to developing standards, and all we do, the solutions are on a global scale whenever possible, when we are able to. But we are quite aware that the thing is to act locally as good as you plan globally. So you need to talk to the members. You need to take into consideration that selling a pair of trousers in Belgium, Luxembourg is quite the same as in Switzerland, but at the very end it isn't. So there are slight differences between things amongst product categories and all this stuff which we need to take somehow into consideration to be relevant to the local members which are actually going to implement the standards we are providing. So it's important to have this work sharing between global office, global standards, and local organizations which are trying to serve you as members as best as we can. So, because it's a federated system, of course, we have the best setting, I think, to be able to support this idea, to be able to actually do it. So the federated system, and that's what I wanted just to quickly highlight here, has interactions between all the nodes. So there is a lot of things going on. It's the B graphic down there. I know it looks very from a mathematics book or something. It is actually. So that's what we are driving for, to have a lot of communication, because global standards only work if all stakeholders are on the table, are able to contribute and to make sure that this is working. You know, it's hard to get things working, sometimes even just between a supplier and a retailer. And if you put that up on the global scale with all the retailers, all the suppliers, and all the countries, all the politics which are connected to it, it's quite hard to actually achieve stuff, but we do. thanks to you, to the community. It's not actually GS1, it's the community, it's the members who have the same foreseeing as we do. Okay, so why are we offering GS1 Digital Link Resolver in special? Because we just learned from Phil. He told us there is a global resolver up there, and it's working perfectly. So why don't we just use this one? We could. That's very important for me to tell you. I could do all I do right now in Switzerland. I could do with the global resolver. It's just we decided, and we will come back to that quite in a few minutes, to have a different approach, to be able to have some additional things our members could do actually if they want to. To us, the main reason is that we are actually the issuing agency. So to me, and I'm from a member organization, of course, the ones who are deciding which global company prefix will belong to whom is GS1 member organization. We, of course, communicate with our global office, of course. But when you want to have a GCP, a global company prefix, to be able to generate those GTINs we were talking about, you need to come to a local member organization in most of the cases. There are some countries, they don't have a local member organization. That's where you go directly to the global office. But in most of the cases, you will end up with us, with the member companies, with the member organizations of GS1, which will fulfill your needs when it comes to that. So, and I've still told you, there is a certain demand from people, if I might put it like that, for the agencies who are actually responsible for allocating, authorizing, registering those things for you, to speak up and to make this information transparently available all over the world. Just think about falsified directory, about medicines. If you just listen to the company, could actually be that you're not talking to a company, you're talking to something, to some fraud, to a fraud company, to a company which doesn't really exist, and try to push you into selling goods which are not coming from the brand mark owner, for example, when it comes to things like that. So there is a need for GS1 to authorize and to tell people, yes, actually, this is a Nestle number, this is a Campina number, this is a whatever, because we have allocated the prefix to them. That's why they can do it. So it's us who should play a role in that. It could be the global office as a delegate, of course, but we feel like it's our responsibility to make sure that 7.6 codings, that's the prefix for GS1 Switzerland, are sourced by GS1 Switzerland, the authorizing part of that. Do you see the picture? I love that. That's why I put it in there. It's in the internet. You never know who you're dealing with. So you need to have this trust. The trust you need to generate to make sure about that has to come from the authorizing party, from the ones who are responsible for the whole thing. Because at the very end, you could actually talk to a dog. The other thing I already told you about is that wherever, or if you run a resolver on your own as a company, as a member organization, it doesn't really matter at the very end, because it's all connected. It's a cascade. That's what I love at the internet. So you could throw, if you want to know information, if you want to get information, you are able to throw that, as you see on the picture, to the global resolver. The global resolver knows that there is a Swiss resolver, and he will throw anything, or forward, I shouldn't use the word throw, forward anything to the Swiss resolver, because I told the global office that there is a Swiss resolver. I'm pleased to redirect everything which is under our responsibility to our resolver. And from there on, we could go to a company resolver of a bigger company, could be outsourced to a solution provider, I don't care, just who has to be authorized by the brand owner, by the one who is applying the GTIN to the products. We could directly, and that's the SME approach, we could just offer them to be able to do those default redirections we've heard about. So just the one which has to be in there, a one-to-one redirection, would be always great to push people somewhere you want them to get information from. You can support link types. Everything is possible there. So we do have a very flexible structure which will allow you to play a role, to don't play a role. You're quite free to do that. what are we offering now at the very end? Well, it's a quite limited thing. We do offer to all our members, which is it's not something you have to pay in addition, as you see on the slide, a default redirection to set a G10 or whatever key you have to a certain web page you tell us about, to redirect based on those links types we heard about, so the e-pills, and if you want to have things like that, it's possible. And that's why we decided to have a service provider. If you want to do more, if you want to be able to change things 24 hours a day and things like that, 24/7, like as the young people tell me it's now called nowadays, you're able to. But that's the contract which is subject to fee, and that's why we have a solution provider, because we actually don't have the capacity or the competent. Right now, we don't have that in place. That's why we want to have a solution provider to be able to achieve that. The second thing is, because we are doing it right now, it's a manual process. It's not automated. I know GS1 should automate all they can, but right now it's not automated. That's why I refer to the 24/7 example right before. That's something for a solution provider, not for GS1 organizations. You know, most of the time a GCP applying for a GCP will take several days, not because we are that lazy or that we are not quick. The thing is, we control a lot of things. We control if you're actually from Nestle, if you're actually able to use to ask for a number, if the contract is there. There's a lot of things which we are still checking to make sure that the quality you all expect from the GS1 registrations is still there for the days to come and for the weeks and years and decades to come, I hope. We do only register the prefixes in Switzerland, of course. We can't do anything else. I mentioned that because some of you are global players, and if they hear, oh, they already got this thing I want in Switzerland, why don't we go there and they do all for our, they manage all our G10s? Won't happen. Won't happen. We would have only the authority to do it for what we are allocating to members. If you need to have more information on that, what we are doing in Switzerland, it's available in German, French, and English on the landing page. I put the QR code in there. For those of you who want to scan, who are right now playing on their mobile phone, you could use your mobile phone camera and an iPhone to actually access the landing page of GS1 Switzerland to get more information about what we are doing. You have use cases on there, and one of them, that's the last slide, you will have to digest. I know a lot of information. I put that on there. I know PowerPoint slides shouldn't look like that. It's more for you to have a look at later. We have a trust box in GS1 at GS1 Switzerland, the Swiss one. For those who are familiar with the formerly known as Trustbox B2C solution of GS1 Belgium Luxembourg. I know, Karen, I forgot the name. You have to mention it again. The thing is, Trustbox is perfect to use GS1 Digital Link to show what you're actually able to do. Because we do know the G10. We do have master data in our local B2C solution. So we were able to just tell them that we threw all their G10s registered all their G10s, over 40,000 by the way, in the GS1 Digital Link Resolver, and will automatically forward it to their Trustbox publication. So it's about visibility, transparency. Nowadays, Trustbox is only known in Switzerland. If you would, as a global player, query the system of digital links, so the global resolver with a G10 from Trustbox, you actually get a publication in 3 or 4 languages about the product. You see some links in there. You can play that. You can play that through on your own. They are working, just examples. But the Trustbox users, of course, are to some extent thrilled because they don't have to pay anything for that. They don't really have to do anything for that because they already did it. They put the G10 and the publication to it in Trustbox. And now they can just generate QR codes with the domain. You see it here, id.gs1.ch is our domain, followed by the AI-ish looking identification of the G10 in the syntax of GS1 Digital Link and actually G10. And they are just able to replace the last part with actual G10 they have in Trustbox. Generate a QR code with a generator of your choice, and voila, you have a valid Gs1 digital link, which will work all over the world. That's it. Thank you for your attention.
Perfect, Michelle. Thank you. And by the way, Trustbox has been transformed to my product manager now.
Thank you. Thank you.
But
I really love the name. I love the name. I told you.
this is also the reason why I wanted you to speak today. It's because you can actually already plant a seed in the minds of the Gs1 Belgium members, and I'm hoping now that they will reflect on, okay, what do we expect from Gs1 Belgium? Do we want them to offer us a resolver, yes or no? Should it be integrated to some kind with my product manager, yes or no? So thank you very much, Michelle. I'm very sure this was very useful to them, and I'm hoping that they will now digest and reflect and come back with input. So thank you, Michelle.
You're very welcome, as always. Thank you, Karen.
Okay, so I'm going to continue. I've been working at Gs1 for about 7 years, and in the meantime, I have become, I think, the dedicated barcode nerd at Gs1 Belgium. So me as well, just like Michelle, I can keep talking about it for hours. So I'm going to have to keep the timing in I have to check it. So I'm going to talk about identification barcodes and syntaxes. And basically, it's simple. I think we've already mentioned it a couple of times. Which identifiers can you use for Gs1 Digital Link? Well, any identifier. It could be the Json, SSCC, GII, GRAI, can be serialized. Anything is possible. Which data carriers can I use? Can be any data carrier. Can be a barcode, 1D, 2D, doesn't matter. RFID tags. Even when we're talking about barcodes, it can be a Gs1 barcode, but it can also be a non-Gs1 barcode like the QR code. We'll get back to that later. First, let's discuss if we should use 1D or 2D. Well, of course, the choice is yours. You can still continue with the current EN13 barcode that you're used to, or you can move to 2D barcodes. And we see as Gs1 that this is a global trend. We are moving to 2D barcodes slowly but steadily. And why is that? It's because 2D barcodes can contain a lot more data. They are much smaller and their readability is higher. And in Belgium, in Luxembourg, we see that Gs1 data matrix, which you can see there on the picture, it's a 2D barcode and it's been implemented in healthcare already, and it's starting to get implemented in retail as well at point of sale for variable measure items. And it's going to expand as well. We are slowly going to migrate to 2D barcodes. That's a certainty. Gs1 is also guiding this transition very well. So just know that even though you can still continue with your 1D barcode, it's always better to have a barcode that can contain more data in itself, that has the data encoded. So you're linking, if you're using Gs1 Digital Link, you are linking to data digitally, but it's also an added value to have more data in your barcode itself. So that is why 2D barcodes are hip and happening, say it like that. Now, let's discuss the issue of Gs1 barcodes versus non-Gs1 barcodes. And this is where we need to talk about syntaxes. Because it is possible to use a non-Gs1 barcode like the QR code and still use Gs1 Digital Link. And I think this is a very important topic to clarify, because actually one of my colleagues who is following this work group right now, she sent me a text saying, okay, this might be a stupid question, but can consumers actually scan a Gs1 data matrix? And I said to her, it's not a stupid question. This is what it's all about. This is why we need to explain this here, this table. So on the left side, you can see the Gs1 data matrix barcode, which is the Gs1 barcode. And on the right side, you see the non-Gs1 barcodes QR code data matrix, the regular data matrix. And we'll explain to you how you can actually use Gs1 Digital Link standard by encoding a different syntax. So on the left, when we look at the GS1 data matrix, you can see that the information here is the GTIN and the lot number, that it's encoded with application identifiers. And we call this syntax the GS1 element string syntax. Now, if you're going to encode the same information, so the GTIN and the lot number in a QR code, for example, and you want it to be a digital link, that you want to enable GS1 digital link, then you can see how it's encoded there. If you look at the second row of the table, of the column, you can actually see that it's now a URI, a Uniform Resource Identifier digital link syntax. So you can still see where the GTIN comes and where the lot number comes, but it's a URL. And now these two syntaxes, these are interchangeable. So you can actually transform one to another by using a software. So it is possible. But you do need to realize the difference, and that is that currently in the supply chain, the use of application identifiers, so the GS1 element string syntax, it's more implemented. So I put it like that. It's mostly supply chain oriented. Maybe it's the wrong wording. I didn't know how to rephrase it otherwise, but I just wanted to let you know that this is usually been used in the supply chain. Whereas QR code, you know it's what consumers use, but it's not that implemented within the supply chain. It's not that implemented at point of sale. So that's the difference. And also, as my colleague asked, if you want to be able to process application identifiers, you will need an app that is not your camera app. You will need a different app, a special app. If you want to read a QR code, on the other hand, you can scan it with your native camera app on your phone. So this is currently the difference. However, we go to the next slide. The goal of GS1 is to achieve syntax neutrality. This is a big word. What does it mean? It means that for GS1, our end goal is actually that the consumer doesn't care which barcode is on the label. He just wants to scan the only barcode that is on the label, and he wants to scan it with his camera app. And that's how this should work in the supply chain as well. So we want to achieve syntax neutrality by offering, for example, conversion software as a free open source, which enables the conversion between the two syntaxes. For example, at point of sale, it can be done. I'm not saying that I mean, we need to test it, we need to implement it, it needs guidance, but this is definitely what we can offer already. Plus, the digital link URI syntax for QR code and data matrix has been included in the GS1 general specifications this year. So as you can see, also in our standards, we have included them. We are also working on an approach with Google and Apple to make sure that the native camera app on your phone in some time would be able to scan GS1 data matrix. And also an important one is the Gs1 US Sunrise Date of 2027. This is something that you should be aware of. And this sunrise date means that all point of sale systems in the US need to be ready to scan 2D barcodes with either the GS1 application identifier element string syntax or the URI digital link syntax. So in the US, it means that brand owners can still have the choice, okay, am I going to use 2D barcodes, yes or no? And if I'm using 2D barcodes, will I use the application identifier syntax or will I use the digital link URI syntax? They can still choose, but retailers in the US need to be ready for both options to be able to scan them by 2027. Now, this is the US we're talking about. As for Europe, we don't know yet what that means, but we are working on it in the Future of On-Pack Coding group at GS1. It's a big group with a lot of GS1 member organizations, and we try to prepare and to manage this transition as best as possible. But as you can see, this is a lot of work, and we need input from you. We need your collaboration. We need to know what is feasible and what is not. So we really want to hear from you when it comes to this syntax neutrality. But just know that this is our end goal. Okay, I'm going to check if there are any questions. Okay. Great. I'm going to have Dirk talk, and Dirk, just like me and Michelle, is also a technical geek, and he can keep talking for hours and hours as well. But Dirk, you have about 10 minutes, if that's okay for you.
I try to keep it as short as possible, but I hope you can hear me. That
Yes,
all
perfect.
technical audio things are right. All right, so I will show a little bit how I have been playing around with some demo app and trying to put Digital Link in practice. I was, as most of you probably, very curious about this nice thing. Is it really that easy? Is it really going to do what I would like it to do, and so on? So this is more or less my journey. So what the goals of the demo app is really to explain and show the possibilities of what Digital Link is capable about. And indeed, it seems not that easy to explain to our members what Digital Link is really about and how to transform part of the technical stuff into real business cases. How can I really use it? So this is more or less the reason why I started to try and build some kind of demo app. It's not finished. It's only used internally, but it should be a start of explaining and showing what could be possible. The things that I've added in the app is I added some extra logic between the carrier and the resolver. So because when people are starting using Digital Link and resolver and things like this, they are not really always aware of what is already in the resolver, what link types are available, what data is available, and so on. So I will try to show it using the app. I start from a data carrier. As I will show, it's any kind of carrier is fine as long as there's an identifier somewhere in it. And also I take into account the language, for instance, of the smartphone, the region of the smartphone, and stuff like this. And I have prepared 3 cases, as already mentioned, the Sopraco case. I've taken also a very small healthcare example and also something from apparel industry, where I will be showing that indeed it's not only limited to using JSONs, but there I'm using some other kind of identifier. Let's start. I have the Sopraco case. Sopraco case has some URLs to some recipes in different languages and so on. So this is the general information. You could use any kind of identifier, of course, but here I'm showing that 3 carriers can be used. The simple 1D barcode. There could be a QR code, and in the past it should be a URL, but now also a URL, but you could use the Digital Link syntax in the URL, and also, of course, the Gs1 data matrix. So it really doesn't care what carrier you're scanning in the app. The app can do it all. So these are the basic points of the app. You have at the top left a scan button. So when you push the scan button, you simply scan the carrier. Then the app is providing some logic, some decoding, some interpretation, and so on. And finally, it's preparing a URL to use to go to the resolver, and that's the button open URL. This is the button that will be used to go to the resolver. So this is let's say the basic part of the app. When we do this in real, when I'm scanning, for instance, the GS1 data matrix that I've shown two slides before, you can see that when pushing the scan button, the data carriers is decomposed in application identifiers, which you can see at the bottom. At the same time, the app is retrieving metadata from the resolver and is showing this in the link types possible. So in fact, the app is getting the entries present in the resolver and is showing this here so that people using the app could check the checkbox, in fact, to say, I want this link type, for instance, product information, but could be any other kind of link type. And as you can see, a URL is composed at the top. And what is mentioned just next to the link types possible is the app is retrieving the standard language setting and the standard regional settings of the smartphone. So at the same time, the app does know in what language, in what region somebody is requesting information. I've taken another example from healthcare. I asked our healthcare manager to provide me some good example. There you can see indeed the data matrix with all the attribute identifiers and so on. So I've put this here also on the slide, and this indeed can immediately be used for retrieving information also in the app. And as you can see there, there are two entries present in the resolver, in the test resolver in this case. There is the leaflet and there is also the product information. So this is for showing you that the app is decomposing the carrier, is presenting there the attribute identifiers, and based on this, the user could indicate whether he would like to see the leaflet or the product information. And he could even indicate at the top level if he would access it using a serialized number. So this is how it could see like. There you have the leaflet and also the product information. Depending on the language of the smartphone, the region on the smartphone, and you could even imagine that there is some personal library on the patient and on the patient somewhere in the app store. It could be also a possibility. To show also the other possible identifiers, this is an example from Apparel using the global individual asset identifier. As you can see, it's the URL behind it is also constructed according to the digital link specifications. And when you scan this information, you will get the information on the next page. But in this case, there's only one page holding all the information on recycling information, on repair instructions, and so on. So in fact, all the information on one side could be decomposed in several different websites, each with a specific link type in this case. So this is more or less the basic principles of the app. And we've tried to take this one step further. For instance, I've been linking all this from the app to our project verified by GS1. As you can see there, this is simple a GT number from our verified by GS1 database. There can even be more information retrieved, but at least the number is verified, the GT number. This is an example from Friesland Campina with all the information filled into the verified by database. This is a simple 1D barcode that I have been taken from a bottle of milk. And if you use this 1D barcode to scan it, you can see at the left, you can see the green button verified by lighting up to indicate that the product is present in our verified by database. And you can even click on it to retrieve extra information from the verified by database with picture and with all other attributes available at that time. So this is one extra feature possible from the DINA app. Potential next steps, indeed, as Michel told us, same technology used as verified by could be used to link towards my product manager, but this is certainly something that can be discussed in our next meetings. So coming to a conclusion on Digital Link, what I've been doing in the app is that the app is certainly capable of processing carrier independent. So even RFID could be a valid solution there. It's very flexible because, as explained by Phil, the resolver is there, and in the resolver you can easily change the destination website of a certain brand. The app is capable of combining existing data. As I've been saying, you are using the identifier somewhere in a carrier. You are using the language and the region stored somewhere in a smartphone. So if you combine all these information, you can easily jump immediately to the requested information by a certain user. So as I would conclude, is the sky is really the limit. You could imagine anything with when building your own app, being brand owned or even yourself. That's it, Karen. Over to you once again.
Okay, super. Thank you, Dirk. So this presentation, I hope, will be planting any more seeds in your head as to what do you expect GS1 to do, GS1 Belgiulux to do with an app. Do you expect GS1 Belgiulux to help you with an app, to offer an app, or how do you envision this app for your use case to implement GS1 Digital Link? And Dirk, I think we have a question for you, or several questions about your presentation. Maybe if you can answer them in the questions tab, then we can continue the presentation and make sure that we end at 3 p.m.
All right, no problem.
Good, thank
Bye.
you. So we have a poll question right now, just one. So, oh, it's already launched, great. So which topic would you like to have more information about in next meetings? Okay. So mostly all of the above, and in specific, the resolver and the app. That's very good to know. Then we can continue with the future. So Phil, it's the last time we will have you talk. Can you talk about the future?
And I'll be very brief because a lot of it's already been covered, so I can do this very quickly. And I will actually, in the process of doing this, answer one of the questions from Eric coming up. So I'm going to do this by talking about the known knowns, the known unknowns, and the unknown unknowns. So the thing we know, the things that we know for sure, the syntax, as Karen has explained, we know that's fully defined. Any set of GS1 identifiers can be encoded in a GS1 Digital Link URI. That's done. We also know, I know of at least 5 multinational companies. I think there are more, but I know of at least 5 working and investing time and money in some form of implementing GS1 Digital Link. The only one of those 5 who's given me express permission to talk about them has been mentioned already. That's P&G. We know they're working on stuff. Other people are too, but we can talk about P&G. I also know of multiple solution providers who are themselves now offering services that include GS1 Digital Link. Some of these are well known. You may have heard of Everything, based in London and Geneva. ClickTag in the US. Kessler, the company behind the Friesland Campaigner example. Trust Codes in New Zealand, and one in Amsterdam called Digital Link Solutions. They might be one to talk to as well. We have direct interest from multiple sectors. We've heard from the healthcare sector today. They're a big, big driver. Retail, of course, construction industry. Etch a data matrix onto something that becomes fixed into a wall or an engineering part, whatever it may be. A lot of possibility there to link to maintenance records. Who do you call if this thing goes wrong? Predictive maintenance stuff, that's all relevant there. Logistics, of course, we have a whole new standard around putting an address in a QR code so you can scan it. And even if you're offline in the middle of the outback somewhere in Australia, you still get the address. But if you are online, you get more information. We're talking to all the scanner manufacturers. They're all looking at doing this. We do expect digital link syntax to be readable at point of sale in the coming years. So those are the things that we know, and this meeting today is more evidence of that. Karen's already talked about the US position paper. I won't labor on that. The 2D migration project, big project coming up across GS1 around the world. You in Belgium and Luxembourg are very lucky. You have Karen Arkestein. She is one of the world leaders. Don't let her tell you otherwise. She is absolutely brilliant, and a lot of people listen to what she has to say. Some things we don't know. This answers Eric's question. One of the things we don't know about, I don't have time to do this in detail. If you have the only telephone in the world, it's useless. It becomes more valuable when there's a second telephone and you can call each other. Each of those two phones becomes more valuable when you can phone 3 people or 4 million or 4 billion. The more resolvers there are, if they're connected to each other, they all become more valuable. So far, everyone's talking about building their own resolver. Great, thank you. Please do that. We're seeing less of people actually linking together in a way that Michelle talked about. I don't know how easy it is for you as a brand owner to collate those links, to get those links together. I don't know. I hope it's easy. It may not be. And what's going to happen? I don't know. It's all sort of up in the air, and it's only you who can make those decisions. So those are the known unknowns. As for unknown unknowns, I have absolutely no idea, as the term suggests. Ask my granddaughter. She knows as much as I do. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for the compliment. You make me blush. Okay, so what is next at Belgiulix level? And these are the last slides. So what I need now is input from you. So we will be sending you a survey asking you about all sorts of things for us to have a better idea of, okay, how are we going to restructure the next work group meetings? It will depend on who will be piloting, who will not be piloting, who is able to give strategic input, who will be able to give technical input, who wants to actively participate, or who wants to just be informed, what is your timing, etc. So please check your email in the next coming days, because you will receive the survey, and please fill it out because it will be very valuable for us. In the meantime, we also have plenty of materials from GS1. You can find a lot on YouTube. You can find a lot on the GS1 websites. We have a lot of documentation, videos, source codes, etc. So please do not hesitate to look for more information or ask for more information, and fill out the survey. And another reason why it's very important that you fill out the survey is actually because I'm approaching my third trimester of my pregnancy. Yes, I'm starting to really relate to that lovely orangutan, and the reason why I need your feedback as well is to actually better estimate how my follow-up during my maternity leave will have to look like, how many people or how many pilots will be launched, etc. So we really need to have a better idea of this. So please fill out the survey. And then for the last minute, we still have a poll. If you look at the polls. So at this point, what do you need from GS1 Belgiulix? Do you need more technical information or more information on user cases and implementation examples? Or do you need specific guidance for your case or anything else? All right, so it's mostly user cases and implementation examples, and we can definitely give you that. We will take that into account. And then the next one, do you think your company might be interested in doing a pilot? Yes, no, too soon to tell. As expected, most of you are replying too soon to tell, and that's completely understandable. We just gave you a lot of information. You need to digest, you need to discuss this internally. You can always get back to GS1 with more info. It's good to see that only a small percent said no. Okay, and then did you enjoy this work group? Yes, very much actually, or yes, but I'd like to enjoy the sunny weather now. Or your kids. Well, I think it's going to be a tie, but I really do hope that you enjoyed it. And please fill out the survey again. Thank you so much. Thank you for the participants, the guest speakers, the marketing team for the support. And feel free to always contact me and enjoy the sunny weather and the quality time with your kids. Thank you.